If you could only pick one strategy for classroom management, what would it be? The answer is a seating chart.
Ooh, we need a seating chart.
Not just any seating chart, but a seating chart that can take care of it all. It can take care of problems before they even begin. A seating chart that holds kids accountable, and a seating chart that encourages participation. A seating chart to monitor behavior, and a seating chart to keep track of those patterns such as hall passes. A seating chart that provides you quick references to students with accommodations like IEPs or 5 at 4, and a seating chart that allows you to become the best teacher you are meant to be. But first, let's go ahead and play that intro. To be 100% transparent, there's not one strategy that's going to cure all your problems. There just isn't. But a good seating chart is a huge step in the right direction. Also, if you like a template of my seating chart, just go ahead and click down below in the description box and you can find a link to get my seating chart. But let's break this down step by step. Allows you to solve problems before they even start. You know, I like to think a seating chart is like the pre-battle plans before you actually go into the war. You know, it's you strategizing of where you're going to place your troops at and everything else. But in this case, you're strategizing where you're going to be placing students at. You see, when I first create my seating chart and I have my room and I create my room and where the desk's going to go, I think about all that. I think about how do I want to structure it. I think about where am I going to place students, and specifically where am I going to place students that'd be some sort of disruption or seem to have trouble being right next to each other. And then I create my seating chart based upon that and my whole entire seating arrangement based upon that. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So when I first set up my room, there's some things, of course, you can't change. You know, for example, there's an entrance over there, there's an entrance over there, that I can't change. I have my desk over here, that I can't change because all the technology is hooked up to the computer and all the plugins are over there. So there's certain things I cannot change. And so the first thing I had to ask myself was, okay, this is what I have to work with. How do I want it set up? Do I want it to be in groups? And to be honest with you, these chairs are actually made for groups. They're actually made for groups. But in my personal opinion, group work seems to be more of a distraction than it is actually helping out my students. And so I decided, no, I don't want to do groups. All right, so then what the next thing would be. And so I have all the desks facing forward. There we go, all right? Now the next part would be this. Okay, so now the desks are facing forward regarding the space, how they're going to be set up. And so I decided for the most part to put them in pairs so you can kind of see that they're in pairs. So now I got my seating arrangement, they're facing forward. For the most part, they're in pairs. But then I strategically, when it came time to create my seating chart, I strategically placed kids in certain spots. So if I have certain talkers, certain people that are distractions, I'll put them in the corners. So I got a corner right here that's close to my desk. That's a good one. I got a corner over here. That's another good one. It's kind of away from everything. And then I got a corner over here at the very front. Those three are some really good spots. Once again, the goal is not to punish, but it's to, if you know a student is going to be talkative, you know a student is going to be distracted, I can put them there and then I could have somebody not sit right next to them. Versus if they're in the middle, then that becomes a problem. But the best spot I have is actually the very, very front here. This would be the best spot for a student that talks a lot or something else, because the way this is set up, these are three. I have a student here, and then I can literally not put anybody right next to them or right behind them. And that provides a great, great resource as far as trying to deal with students that seem to be disruptive. So when it comes time for creating your seating chart, you can strategize where students are going to go. You can separate friends if you need to. You can put a little bit of space, a little distance between them. How you set up your desk is another big deal. But think about all that, plan it all out, put it on a seating chart, and then that is the battle plan before you can even start your class. But if you really think about the placement of your students and where they're going to be located at, that can reduce or even eliminate problems before they even begin. So make sure your seating chart does that. Hold students accountable. There's a term in teaching called proximity, that if you think a kid's going to be some sort of issue, or if there's something coming up, you kind of just walk close to them. And the idea is that the closer you are to them, the proximity, the less chance of that behavior happening. But if you want to up the game of proximity, here we go. Use a clipboard. Look, let me show you. So this clipboard right here, I always have this clipboard. I mean, everywhere I go in my classroom, I carry on the clipboard, because on my clipboard is my seating chart. It's on the seating chart to the other side. And so, but there's something about students thinking that you're keeping track of their behavior that makes them act better. Once again, it's not a cure-all, it's not going to solve everything, but there's something amazing about it. That if I walk over the clipboard, students think I'm keeping track of everything, and therefore they act better. I was talking with a teacher friend of mine, and he has an observation coming up real soon. And during the observation, the principal comes in with a clipboard. And so the principal's walking around the campus with a clipboard, and all the teachers are kind of like, oh, here it comes. So it works with us, and I guarantee it's going to work with the students. So to hold kids accountable, just walk around with that clipboard, make it look like, and actually if you are keeping track of things, that's even better, but at least present the image that you're keeping track of behavior, and you should see some changes just on that alone. Encourages participation. So what I do, once again, I will always walk around with this clipboard that has my seating chart on it, but let me show you what the seating chart actually looks like. And so that way you understand how I use it better. So when it comes to participation, I got this big box underneath their name. So let's say, for example, over here we got Isaiah. Isaiah just raised his hand, and so what I would do is I put a point right here. Once again, I have this clipboard at the very front with me. I'm walking around with it. You know, it is ready to go. He raises his hand, boom, yes, Isaiah, and he answers the question, and then I just put a mark right there. That's the participation points. Next one that happens, let's say Ted down here. Ted raises his hand. All right, Ted, I got you. Participation points. Then at the end of the week, what I do is I take all these points and I add them up together, and then I'll put that on their grade as extra credit. So that's where I keep track of participation. Here I am in front of the class. I got my clipboard. Students are more accountable because once again I have my clipboard, but then students raise their hand more because they actually see me physically making a mark. They actually see me marking a clipboard, so they know that they're getting rewarded for their participation. So a clipboard can help you with student participation. It helps monitor behavior. So back to the clipboard again, let's take a look at it again. And so if you look at this one now, so let's take a look at Daniel over here. So once again, top part's participation, but the smaller box is where I keep track of behavior. Now on this seating chart, I actually have the days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can keep that in there or take it out, it's up to you. But that's if you want to get real specific on what days certain things happen. But for my case, at this point in time, I kind of just took it out and just used the extra space. But let's say Daniel, for example, has a cell phone. And so what I'll do is I'll just kind of put a C right here for cell phone. All right, so keep track of that. Or let's say that Adrian has earbuds in. Well, let's love that little timer. Then I put down an E here for earbuds, right? Something like that. Or let's say that, I don't know, back to Isaiah. Isaiah down here has food. I might just put F down for food. And so the idea is that you're quickly making marks on this to track behavior. Helps identify patterns. So in the same boxes, small boxes where I keep track of behavior, I also keep track of things, patterns, such as hall passes. If you don't have any kind of system put in place for hall passes, I guarantee you're going to have kids going out almost every single day for restroom, nurse, or something else. And so in my class, what I tell my students is that they have 3 hall passes per quarter. So whatever that means, if the hall pass is anytime they leave the classroom, anytime they want to leave the classroom, it's called a hall pass. It could be to the nurse, it could be to the bathroom, it could be the counselor, but they only get 3 per quarter. And then I make a mark on it on the seating chart. So let me show you what that looks like on the seating chart. And so using the same boxes for behavior, I also use that to mark other patterns, other things. So let's say restroom. So for me, if I put down a B, that stands for the restroom or bathroom. So Miguel comes to me and says, hey, can I use the restroom? And I say, Miguel, you only get 3 hall passes per quarter. You already used 1. So, all right, sure thing, but we got to give you another warning right here. So we'll put a B down there for that one. So now it's the 3rd time Miguel comes to me and I'll say, Miguel, this is your 3rd time going to the restroom and it's only been 2 weeks. Are you sure you want to go? And then he can make that decision. But then what happens is now I'm keeping track. I see a pattern that Miguel's going out quite often to use the restroom. And in my class, once you can only get 3 hall passes, so at that point in time, if he asked again, I would, kind of take the next level and talk about responsibility and everything else. But this is another way to keep track of patterns or different behavior and activities you see in your class. Provides a quick reference for students with accommodations. So we're talking IEPs, 504s. So what I do is on my seating, think about this for example. If your principal came in and they asked the question, hey, what students have accommodations? If you don't know the answer right off the top of your head, that can look kind of bad. How nice would it be that if they asked you the question, what students have accommodations, all you have to do is look at your seating chart, boom, and you can actually point out these 5 right here, 5, 6, 7, 10, need accommodations. That is powerful. So I use a marking on my seating chart to represent accommodations. And so let's take a look at the seating chart so you see, and the last thing I use the seating chart for is accommodations. And so accommodations, where I'll make those marks at, will be right next to their name. So for my class, if you kind of look up here, over here maybe Eduardo, he has like an S for a Spanish speaker, right? Today I actually don't use S. What I use is their level. So there are different levels that are tested. I put the level number there. But this is a way of keeping track of Spanish speakers by the level. So I'll basically put their name and then a number next to it in parentheses. That represents their level as far as Spanish speaking. Now, if they have an IEP or 504, what I'll do is on this, and then we'll type this up. I'll go ahead and let's say it's Anthony, for example. I'll have a line under Anthony. That line represents an IEP or a 504. So now what I got is I have numbers representing Spanish speaking levels, and I have a line to represent any kind of IEP or 504, some sort of accommodation. But then let's say we got James over here, and James, I got a note from his mom that he can use the restroom anytime he wants to. It's a medical condition. What I'll do over here, and I'll just put like parentheses, and I'll put down an M, and that represents the medical condition. So the beauty of all this is that you, at your hands, you have a quick reference to any kind of behavior, quick reference to accommodations, quick reference to see who's participating, not participating, all in one seating chart, and it is amazing to see the results you get with this. So my seating chart, man, it does all of this. This is the foundation of my classroom, is this seating chart. So once again, if you want a copy of my template for seating chart, just click down below to get a free template of that. But I hope you found this information helpful.